everyone. Welcome to another episode of the FitFam podcast. As usual, this is Mr.Olympia.
I was waiting for you. And this guy right here is Doug, the Formulator.
And today we're going to change things up a bit. So excited.
Yeah, I mean, you should be excited. You don't have to sit here and listen to this gal. Because today is the super coolest treat. Because not only do you get to listen to an interview that Doug did, you get to listen to the coolest accent you've ever heard. And one of the coolest guys ever, Mr. Flex Lewis.
Seven-time Mr. Olympia 212 division, and one of the nicest guys in the entire world.
The nicest guys.
But you're going to learn about nutrition.
Yeah, and it's from such a cool perspective. This is from somebody who grew up in a totally different country than the United States and is going to talk about the effects of the American Standard Diet and how it affected him and basically his training. So yeah, it's a great interview.
Great interview. And look, this guy's known around the world, one, the top celebrities in the bodybuilding world and fitness. And he's going to share some things with you in this interview that he's never shared before. Actually, the thing that caused him to retire from the sport. And it has to do with what we talk about mainly and our main focus. So love it. Check it out. Let us know your thoughts. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Keep chewing.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Flex, we just had a great time filming, for the Great American Food Fraud. But I wanted to take a second because I think that most of the thousands of doctors that we work with across the nation don't understand what it takes to be an elite athlete, let alone an Olympian bodybuilder, from nutrition. And wanted to just talk about the similarities of elite performance that no one knows better than you. And also patience, people who just want to be healthy or even overcome a little condition and how related they are. I mean, it's basically the same thing, what they need to do. And I think what really brought me to more of a kinship, friendship with you is the relatability of your story. And I tell people that for decades, working with every nutrient, with nutrition in general, macronutrients, micronutrients, exercise, blood work, all kinds of things, that the most important thing to me, in my opinion, it comes down to digestion. Digesting your foods. And, just as far as a little bit of a background of your story, would you mind kind of the highlights as far as who you are? And then let's talk about kind of the end of the career for a minute.
Absolutely. So, Flex Lewis, come from the country of Wales, with the highlights. Wales is a highlight for me to mention. Hence why the accent has been strong for 20 years here in America. But growing up, coming from very humble beginnings. Thankfully, my mother and dad always give me good food growing up. That I can always remember. Same as my grandparents. Homegrown. My grandparents had a small little lot, so we would pick the runner beans, we would pick the mint, we would pick the tomatoes. Everything was there in my grandparents' house. Never had any GI issues, never had any stomach issues as a kid. As the years went by, I was never a big eater. Somehow I chose the sport of bodybuilding, which revolves around food. But I was always into sport from a very young age. So much so that I went on to run for my country, where I won a gold and a silver, representing my country. And I played very high level rugby, where I was scouted to different teams. But for me, I stayed local. I played for my college. We were able to win the highest title of all, which was the British Colleges Cup. But at the same time, I started getting into bodybuilding. So the allure of the weights and the allure of the iron far exceeded the rugby field. But I didn't know at that time that it was a career to be had in bodybuilding. So again, Flex magazine became my Bible every month when it came out, and that was something that I read top to bottom, back to front. And I think at one point in time I committed myself to following this path. And of course, that covers with the abundance of food. So in doing my first bodybuilding show, it was the Mr. Wales. I was 19 years old. All I really done it for was a free gym membership. I had no intentions at that point in time to go on and do what I'd done. But I remember looking at the money in my bank account and thinking, how am I going to pull this off? And it was a tuna, spinach, lettuce, egg white diet. I done the budget of all budgets to do my first bodybuilding show for that free gym membership. Little did I know that the tuna costs were going to exceed that membership cost. But nonetheless, I was able to do it, and I was able to win that first show. And from there, images ended up going on the internet, which was relatively new. And then I had a call from Ed Connors, who's the owner of Gold's Gym. And he flew me out and opened my eyes to the incredible opportunity of becoming a bodybuilder in the United States. I was able to live in the same house as many great athletes who were in the magazines that I grew up watching, and also train in Gold's Gym with the likes of Charles Glass, being able to see Sylvester Stallone, all of Hollywood's elite to the bodybuilding elite. And at that point in time, at 19 years old, when I went back home, I knew I was all in bodybuilding.
It's awesome. Yeah, the career, phenomenal. You're too humble. The ultimate in this world is a Mr. Olympia. The ultimate. And 7 times.
I was able to achieve that, yes, 7 times.
That's just incredible. And I remember the first time I heard you speak, watched you on stage, but we came to the event where the public and a lot of the media are at.
Yeah.
That. And the humility you have, but also you're not going to beat me, was such a pure mindset of, I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of, I respect you, but this is who I am. I think that's so needed today. But you have the 7, why not continue? What out?
Well, in that course of chasing the 7, Arnold being a great inspiration to me, and one of them books that I pulled out of the library as a very young kid, he had 7. And it was my goal to equal, my idol as a kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So 7 for me was the goal, but then it was then to move on into the open division. And the open division is where there's no weight cap. The 7 that I previously won were under 212 pounds. So I had to make that weight, which was extremely difficult for me. But as I didn't have an appetite, it was not as hard as some of the guys who were struggling with the appetite element of things. But there was no question I had issues during that time. But as the meal frequencies were so small, I don't think it was apparent as it was when I moved up into the open. Because the open class comes with an abundance of food. Size is definitely apparent when you go on the Olympia stage. But again, I was going to play to my strengths, and that was symmetry, structure, and conditioning. And conditioning is something that comes through suffering. The volume of these guys, the mass quality of these guys comes from the off-season. So there's 2 elements and 2 hats you have to juggle. Is extreme suffering when you diet, and then force feeding in the off-season. 2 miserable concepts. So I just had to wear the hat of both during that year. And when I retired, when I decided to move from the 212 class to the open class, of course, all the fans were excited, because that was a conversation that many years to see.
Yeah.
And it was my chance then to become the first ever Chump champ. With many different things that had happened, from COVID to all the changes in the world during that time, I still found a way to consume their meals, although it was horrendous. Many days I woke up with nausea that was there all day, and sometimes I woke up without nausea and still threw up. So there was no rhyme to reason. The food quantities are the exact same, but it all comes down to the word that you said, that digestion. And during that course of having these issues, I had hired 3 of the best GI doctors. I was doing things that I'd never done before, which bodybuilders stay away from: fasting, not eating for days on end, which is a massive no-no, as you know. But I tried everything, and I went Eastern medicine. Aside from Western medicine, chiropractic skills to train aid digestion, massage techniques to help digestion. What else I do? Oh my gosh, bends.
Yeah, acupuncture.
I did acupuncture, amongst many other things, and it still wasn't enough. It was a band-aid, and the true reset had to happen when I just retired and stopped eating as much as I was doing. So there was always an issue. And again, I spent a lot of money trying to keep myself in the game, even flying myself to Colombia to get stem cells, which tremendously helped the injuries, but didn't do anything on the digestion issue on the stomach.
So the digestion issue, you go from 212, go to the open, consuming a lot more food. The digestion issues come in so bad that you pretty much had to retire. It was so bad. But the second you quit consuming that amount of food, things got better.
Absolutely.
So let's take that and say, okay, was it just the total amount of food? And I think we know better than that, because being from Wales, one of my favorite stories from you is the supermarket there. Explain to me the supermarket aisles there with USA and Wales food.
Yeah, in the US, in the UK, we have, aisles that may be dedicated, or a small portion of the supermarket dedicated to US consumer brands.
So you have the US foods there.
Yes.
Certain aisles.
Kind of like you have a UK section in a US supermarket, right? But these came with warning labels. And the cereals, the candies, so many different brands that are mainstream brands all have extreme warning labels on them. And at that point in time when you're a kid, you think, okay, yeah, it can't be that bad. It's so in the US, everybody's consuming it for the most part, right? But now living in the US, you know what quality is.
Yeah.
You know that what you're truly getting in the UK or Europe isn't being injected or added. Ingredients are being put on for whatever reason, shelf life to etc. In the US, it's extremely disheartening, as well as extremely worrying that we have these products on the shelves that are being consumed from the young infants to the toddlers to the kids that are my age,
Yeah.
to the elderly.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is that in Europe, in the UK, they saw that those ingredients are so bad, they put these, black label warnings all over them for you. But a lot of the same companies that are making those American foods that you have to put the labels on there are making the foods for the UK, and they're making it clean for you, right? And it's absolutely blown my mind. So in America, when you go back to Wales, or you go to your world traveling, and you're such a great businessman and what you've done since retiring, but when you go to Spain and all that, is there a difference with the food? Can you eat foods there that you can't eat here?
Absolutely. I mean, I've said it many times. I called my wife from Italy. I said we should just move here and prep. I had zero GI issues. And bear in mind too, I was the 7 meal a day bodybuilder,
Right.
and I was on a tour for a month. I didn't have a single GI issue. Inflammation was subsided. And then at that point in time, I started realizing, even the food that we're having here, that we're sourcing from places that promote, that this being organic, this being whatever it is, the term is not. And it's more critical than ever to start picking up the packages and reading what truly is in our wheats, is in our products that we're buying, from the fruits to the vegetables to everything and all of the above, because it isn't the same.
It isn't. So let's destroy some myths, and really, just for a minute, we can even get a little controversial, because depending on who you talk to, you've got to have the carnivore diet. It's the only way to have great quality of life and live for a long time, and even with sport. Oh no, you need the paleo diet. Oh no, you need to be vegan. You need the Mediterranean diet. And it's so crazy, because you have people that are so passionate. We both know people passionate on every one of those diets, right? And they're because they truly believe it, because it's what helped them. And what no one's talking about is the truth. The truth is that the carnivore diet for you might be awesome, and it might kill me, right? And a vegan diet might cause major deficiencies for you, and it might be great for me. But what it comes down to is digestion. And one of the studies that we were talking about that we've done is that we did a study with 50 grams of whey protein in both groups, and we measured the amino acids in the blood. and in the blood 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours later. And the groups that took the 50 grams away, we had them take the digestive enzymes, the digestamil, and we measured that. So both groups took the same amount of protein, but the group that digested the whey, right, with the enzymes, had 3 times the amino acid levels in the blood. So they had 3 times. That means that's like 3 chicken breasts versus 1, and you get more benefit from the one with less calories. It's like awesome for bodybuilding, right? But the thing that was amazing that I think really comes down to your situation is that the C-reactive protein was lower in the group that had more amino acids in the blood, which shows that it's not excess protein that's causing the problem. It's the non-digestion of the protein. And so if you digest protein well, that's going to be the ultimate diet for you. If I don't, it's going to kill me. So everyone needs to know what their digestive system's up to. They need to balance their diet and their nutrition and allow people to find what's good for them. That's one thing I really love about you. And we've been on stage in multiple places, and I love how you explain to people that they need to innately find out for themselves. And you know, that's so powerful.
Absolutely. There's so many different diets on that. I think if anybody wants to jump into something, you can get caught up right now with so much, whatever's the hottest thing that's being talked about. But if you truly believe in something and you're seeing the results and you feel the results, then go for it. But also be mindful to try something new. My wife, being a dietitian, nutritionist, she has done everything when she was in school. She went vegan. She had done that for a couple of months. Then she went pescatarian.
Yeah.
Then she's done the carnivore diet. She's tried everything for an equal amount of time. But for her, she has to have a balance of protein, carbs, and fats. You know, she's a former competitor as well. And now a super mom of 2 as well, the CEO for the company. So she has to have fats for the brain function and carbs to put up with me. So
That's awesome.
yeah, but there's so much truth to what you're saying, because there's a lot of misconceptions, and everything is the new fast, right?
Right.
You know, and we go back to saying that on stage, we were saying like everyone wants the quick fix, everyone wants the 2-minute abs. Used to be the 10-minute abs. Now it's down to 2. With food, it's, you know, quality is key. Quality is key.
Digestion.
Exactly. I've been and have the privilege of seeing athletes, maybe not in the bodybuilding sport, but on the football field, and maybe in the UFC, where these guys eat 2 meals a day and they look incredible, but their digestion is ridiculously amazing.
Yeah.
And from the bodybuilding side of things, I know guys who have eaten 4 meals a day and look like they're eating 7 meals a day. Goes back to what you said, digestion. When I was the 212 competitor on the Mr.Olympia, I was having small, frequent meals, 7 meals a day, and they were purposely driven for what the task I was doing. The 2 meals, my cardio was being done in the morning. 2 meals post that would be fueling my workout. Everything purpose driven. No fats, just carbs. And everything again had its place in the day. The 3 meals post workout all had their place too, to fuel the body after the workout. And then the meal before bed was light, probably a protein shake, easily digested before bed. But again, that was such a systematic approach, and there's a blueprint for each and every one of my meals. In the inclusion of adding more sodium, that's where the digestive issue really hit the top of the tree for me. And I started having all the knock-on effects, you know, waking up nauseous, stomach issues 24/7. And I done everything in my power to just put the Band-Aid on that, just for me to get through my day. I looked at the day in its complete form, not looking at the week. Each day was to be conquered. And when each day started becoming increasingly harder and harder, not just to train, to digest my food, but also the brain function and the clarity and foggy nature that I was walking around with, I knew that then the conversations of retirement had to be answered.
Yeah, there's 2 factors with that. One is being able to digest the food to deliver the nutrients past the blood-brain barrier, but then the damage to the gut that has the connection with the brain, right, through the vagus nerve. And so you're just pretty much going to be major brain fog and issues because of it. So, well, let's kind of close with kind of the concept here.
Can I add something?
Yeah, I'd love that.
You mentioned about the vagus nerve.
Yep.
I never had anxiety in my life, and I truly believe it was a factor from the overfeeding I was doing. that vagus nerve is such a critical and crucial part of everything that you do. Again, you become stressed out, your stomach starts shutting down. It has knock-on effects, etc. The pressure that I put on myself to get them meals in started affecting my stomach beyond belief. And things that I started incurring that I never had thought about before. But I think for myself now, sitting in the shoes of truly looking back at the athlete that I was, and the focused tunnel vision of coming to this country at 19 years old, had everything to lose but everything to gain, and that mentality, there was nothing going to stop me. And thankfully I was able to achieve my goal and the American dream of coming here, sleeping on a sofa, to then becoming, you know, the best in the world, and then retiring undefeated in my sport of choosing. I think that was down to my mentality, and I was going to do everything impossible. And when it came down to the next chapter of food issues and finding out that we were expecting no second child, then I had to really sit down and think like, okay, the legacy has already been done. The next chapter is the legacy of being dad. And that was the final decision for me. And when I retired and started eating less, all these issues somewhat disappeared.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? But where I'm at in life right now, I think the understanding and the knowing of being the athlete in the UK, knowing what it felt like to consume goods that weren't full of toxins and carcinogens and ingredients that you can't even pronounce.
Yeah.
To then coming to the US and starting picking up all these issues that never were there before, I'm the poster boy. As I've now gone from being that guy to being the champion, retiring and having the issues, to then now retiring, being able to look back, no question, food was the biggest issue that I faced every single day in my life. And it had the knock-on effects, certainly with the digestion to mental clarity and all of the above. And now I've been able to strip away, you know, the amount of food and just focus on what quality is being put in, including the supplementation that fuels my day. A whole different beast.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And you know, I think the foundation, coming back full circle, is digest your food, don't overconsume food, focus on the probiotics so you have that gut-brain connection, everything that needs to happen there. And the final chapter of that is for all these people that think they need to consume these massive amounts of food to stay anabolic. Anabolic meaning a state of muscle growth, right? You don't want to be catabolic. And the best way to explain that is, if we chopped up flex right now and ate them, it would be cannibalism. But if your body eats itself, it's catabolism, right? We don't want to be catabolic. And it was so impressive what you said about you started consuming less food, but what happened to your muscle mass? What happened?
And that's the incredible thing. I think the fear factor for me was, again, I was the product of my work. So I built this physique. And at one point in time, I was sitting at 260 pounds in the year. Now I'm like 200 pounds. I worked hard to get it off too. But being that guy, being in that gorilla suit, I know what it took just to maintain that. When I retired, I knew that I was going to drop some weight by design.
Yeah.
And then I was stuck. Regardless if I ate 1 or 2 meals a day, if I ate 4 meals a day, I held on to all my muscle mass, my muscle fullness and digestion was incredible. And my advice to many of the athletes that step foot in this gym that are force feeding themselves is, take a break, take a step back, reset your body, maybe just eat a little bit less in volume, but still keep the frequency for digestion.
Yeah.
And you'd be shocked. And thankfully I've got 1 or 2 testimonies for that. Again, it's a very risky thing for an athlete that is programmed that more is better. If you can get more food in, you're going to grow bigger, right? Now, you know, with the knowledge that is, I guess, being passed down from guys like yourself to me, who are in that transition from being the athlete to being a retired athlete, I'm now passing it on to athletes that I wish I heard when I was competing. You don't have to force feed yourself. Yes, it's going to be hard to get the meals in, but volume less, frequency stays the same, and you'll be shocked at what you can look like by having a body that digests. Again, like a race car on a track that's able to utilize all the race fuel that gets thrown in it when that carburetor is open wide, right? So that is the mentality that I'm now passing back on to the future athletes, that less is more. And you'll be shocked at what you can look like by following that program.
That's awesome. So the bottom line is, quit arguing about the different diets and that, and start focusing on digestion, smaller meals, and your life's going to turn around. You're going to reach optimal health. Love you, brother.